All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking about real music in real time for literally just a few real people out there, just like you and just like me. 3 out of 67 subscribers are happily watching these videos. Thank you so much. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and Patreon. I could use your help, people. $1 a month, $2 a month. The algorithm is big, it's heavy, and it's definitely throttling back or throttling down the number of views that I'm getting, and it's quite apparent based on the number of subscribers I have. Okay, anyway, enough whining. Here is Sunstorm, Edge of Tomorrow. This is probably one of the better Joe Lynn Turner Sunstorms. The early stuff has a completely different sound. This came out in 2016, and it's heavier, it's beefier, it's chunkier. It's a bit more like a Michael Moore album. Anyway, Edge of Tomorrow. The video has like 1.7 million views on YouTube, which is unheard of, because this is more of a later melodic rock album, but it's Joe Lynn Turner, and Joe's a great guy. I consider him a friend these days. He is awake to what's going on in the world, which makes him an even more impressive artist. So go check out some Sunstorm with Joe Lynn Turner, melodic and progressive all at the same time. Much like the band Yes. Okay, there's a segue. I just found the segue, and I drove right down the segue. So Steve Howe is out there saying some interesting stuff about a reunion, and it's the typical stuff. The old-time fans and the current group of folks that like Steve Howe and the current lineup, they're just never going to see eye to eye. It's just going to be this ongoing thing. The Jon Anderson people, and I empathize with all of those people. I mean, Jon Anderson is amazing and singing still really well at his age. So most people are like, can we just get Yes back together again? The problem is Steve Howe doesn't want to do it. And his rationale dates back to 1991. Get this. In a new interview, Howe explains why a reunion isn't likely to happen anytime soon. He is basically saying he's absolutely hesitant to do it because of what he calls the fiasco of the Union Tour, which took place back in 1991 and featured 8 past and current members of Yes. It was very, very difficult and out of control, Howe says. Sometimes I might have thought, well, one day maybe, and one never wants to say never, but basically I can't see it. Now, for Yes fans, at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Anderson was there, and it was great, and it was way overdue, by the way, for Yes to get inducted, but it shows you how much the Hall of Fame likes progressive rock. It appeals to a certain demographic, and that demographic isn't anything that the Hall of Fame is really catering to these days. Anyway, Steve Howe says that while he loves Jon Anderson, he says, I'm a lot older now, and so is he, and the only terms I work on is that I'm happy working on this. I think meaning that if you're going to be working with somebody, you want to be happy working with them. Sounds very much like the Tommy Shaw, Dennis DeYoung issue. I didn't think Anderson was a problem. I just can't see. If you listen to Jon Anderson speak, he seems like this gentle guy, this loving guy, peace and love and all that stuff. But apparently he was difficult to work with here. That's what Steve Howe is implying. He goes on to say, I'm not going to take a sudden load on my back that I either don't need or want. Jeez. So reuniting with Jon Anderson would be a huge load on his back. He adds, my music always guides me, and it's not telling me to do those things. It's telling me to go forwards. Okay, this is a diplomatic corporate boardroom way of saying that we've decided to go in a different direction, Bob. Sorry. Or in this case, John. But, you know, all the best to you and your family. He says here, if it keeps steering me where it is now, then it's great to have this live and vibrant Yes. Now, Yes has a brand new album out there. It's called Mirror to the Sky. Now, the patrons on my channel were kind of like, no, don't promote that. They didn't say that. There were a few that were like, yeah, it's pretty good. I think it's a really good album. You know, this is classic, old school Yes, with some orchestral flourishes. It doesn't necessarily sound like their 70s material, but it certainly is moving forward. If you listen to the title track, Mirror to the Sky, it clocks in at almost 14 minutes. So, you know, back in the old days when I worked on or at the classic rock radio station, people loved long songs in the classic rock world. They loved them. For a programmer, though, they pose a lot of issues, a lot of problems, because, you know, you've got a commercial break coming up that you have to blow past, and then you somehow have to find the time to play those ads. And if you're playing Mirror to the Sky on your radio station, maybe you play it as the song in the first quarter hour and hope that people don't flee because they're bored or whatever. But see, in the old days, people had an attention span, and that's why the music of Yes was okay in the past. But now people are like, can we get an edit here? Can we condense this version from 14 minutes down to like 2 minutes? Anyway, I think Mirror to the Sky is terrific. And Jon Davison, I mean, if you're going to find somebody, right? I say this all the time. If you're going to find somebody to replace the original guy, you need to find somebody who's pretty close. And Jon Davison may be the greatest example in history of somebody who's close to the original singer, who makes you think to yourself, yeah, this sounds like Yes, and you don't really think about the lead vocals all that much. Although, I mean, again, Jon Anderson is more distinctive than Jon Davison. I think Jon Davison's a little more generic sounding than Jon Anderson, but that's because we're all so used to hearing Jon Anderson over how many years. And Jon is out there, by the way, working. He's out there touring. He's got a band, and he sounds great. And so, I don't know. This ongoing issue with Yes isn't going to be resolved because Steve Howe is happy doing this. And my guess is he's going to continue to record music with Jon Davison. And if you're a fan of this music, I say this is a pretty good representation of what Yes fans like listening to. Now, again, if you're the 80s era Yes person, maybe wait for Jon Anderson to hang out with Trevor Rabin again. I don't know if that's going to happen. Certainly, I love that era, but I tend to be an all-of-the-above guy when it comes to Yes. Working in the classic rock world, you had to play Roundabout, you had to play I've Seen All Good People, you had to play Heart of the Sunrise, had to play all these songs from the 70s, basically, that have more or less vanished from every radio station on the planet, unless you have some kind of a, you know, specialized playlist or satellite radio, which focuses on just that era. I like Yes. They are a brainy band. It takes brain cells to like Yes. I'm just going to put it out there. It's not for everybody. I'm not saying people who don't like Yes are stupid. I'm just saying it's complicated, progressive music, and it's not in everybody's wheelhouse. All right? Now that I've offended a bunch of people, I guess I'm just going to stop talking. Here is Sunstorm And this is Edge of Tomorrow. Jolyn Turner really kicking butt on this album. Came out a number of years ago. It is somewhat progressive. It doesn't sound like Yes, that's for sure, but it's got its own kind of heavy vibe to it without really causing your ears to bleed. There's some AOR tendencies there, but it rocks out pretty well. And you get Jolyn Turner, really the best incarnation of that band. If you go way back at the beginning, I think it's even better when Dennis Ward was producing it. Just phenomenal music. And Jolyn Turner, Deep Purple and Rainbow and Yngwie and all that stuff. So yeah, check it out if you have an opportunity to do that. In the meantime, folks, if you can support the channel, also don't forget about Modern Retro Radio, modernretrofm.com. I believe they're playing new material by Yes right now on their radio station, which I don't think anyone else in the country is really doing that. Not one classic rock station out there is playing, say, Cut from the Stars or All Connected, both of which were singles earlier this year. They just kind of ignored it, and they always do. They always do. It doesn't really matter what these older guys do. They get ignored by the iHeart Radio Industrial Complex, which just focus tests and gets those playlists down to almost nothing. All right, I am done. Thanks for watching. God bless you all. God bless America. God bless the world, for that matter. Let's just say God bless the world, but you know what? Maybe we should say God save the world, or if you're the president of the United States, you just say God save the Queen, and nobody knows what you're talking about.